All right. Well, it is 11:01 Central Time, so we are going to go ahead and get started. So, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to the Jira Service Management Fundamentals webinar. We are so glad you're able to join us today for this overview of Jira Service Management. I'm Brad Wood. I'm a business consultant and Atlassian Certified Professional with Valiantys. And today I'm going to be walking you through Jira Service Management to highlight many of its strengths and capabilities. So before we get started, a little bit about Valiantys. We are a Platinum Solutions partner of Atlassian, and we offer consulting and licensing services across the entire Atlassian suite of products for organizations of all shapes and sizes, anywhere in the world, and for any platform, including cloud and data center, with extensive insight and understanding of Atlassian tools, undiluted focus and skill sets, and proven capability at every level. We're 100% dedicated to the Atlassian ecosystem and Atlassian tools, and we're a 13-time Atlassian Partner of the Year. We've worked with 65 of the global Fortune 500 organizations, and we have a full stack development center as well that works on custom solutions and integrations for Atlassian products. We're Atlassian's first global partner, and we provide 24/7 global coverage with over 600 team members. And a little bit more about us and the services we provide. We provide a number of different services based around Atlassian products. These include consulting, licensing, integration and development, managed services, and training, just to name a few. And you can find more information on the services we provide at valiantys.com/services. So along that training service that we provide, in addition to webinars like this one, we also have more extensive training classes on other Atlassian products, like our Jira Software and Confluence boot camps, as well as our Jira Service Management boot camp, which that's a 2-day class that takes a comprehensive look at everything you need to know to effectively use and administer Jira Service Management. This course is designed for both administrators and service desk managers, and our boot camps focus on retention, and they're interactive workshops designed to leave users confident in their understanding and use of the tools and processes. Our JSM bootcamp covers some advanced topics as well, such as assets, Opsgenie, status page, and a whole lot more. You can find more information on this and all of our upcoming boot camps by visiting valiantys.com/training. And I think there is a link in the chat that you can check that out as well. Our next JSM bootcamp is coming up on November the 12th. So our agenda for today, the introduction we are currently doing. After that, we'll do a demo in Jira Service Management. And at the end of the webinar, if time allows, we'll have some time for Q&A. So I believe there's a Q&A area here in Zoom, and please feel free to post any questions you have in there as the webinar goes along, and we'll answer those as time allows at the end of the hour this morning. So let's talk a little bit about Jira Service Management at kind of a high level. So what is it and who is it for? Well, Jira Service Management was originally created as a service management tool for IT departments, but over the years, it has evolved into a much more robust platform. It's not just for IT teams anymore. It can really be used by any service team in your organization. So your HR team, legal, marketing, any department who is providing a service or receiving requests from customers can benefit from using Jira Service Management. In addition, JSM is a support system with knowledge bases, a ticketing system. It can be an asset manager. It has a wide variety of powerful features found within the tool. JSM provides an intake channel and tracking for your service requests, which help support and track your customer success by keeping a record of those service requests and keeping customers up to date on their requests. I mentioned knowledge bases. JSM can be connected to internal or external knowledge bases, and we'll look at a little bit of that functionality here shortly. JSM can track and maintain SLAs, which we'll look at those a little bit later in this webinar as well. And it provides a clean and highly customizable customer portal for requests to be submitted, which functions as a centralized location for your customers to submit their service requests, as opposed to using a large or maybe inconsistent list of communication methods like email, Teams chat, Slack, phone calls, etc. The JSM portal is there to centralize and keep those requests in a single location. The portal also provides a location for your customers to view the status of their service requests and communicate with the agents who are working on those requests. And this helps ensure that our customers are providing the necessary information with their requests, and we'll learn how to set that up later this morning. JSM can be used by both internal and external customers from your organization, so they don't necessarily have to be users within your organization to access your JSM Help Center. And we can also utilize automation for Jira to automate repetitive tasks, saving our agents time and increasing efficiency, which leads to quicker resolutions to our customers' requests. Jira Service Management, you may have guessed, is built upon Jira software. So if you're already familiar with Jira, you're going to notice many similarities between the two products. But if you're not familiar with Jira, that's okay. JSM does work as a standalone product, so you don't need to have Jira to have Jira Service Management, and you don't need to have Jira experience to learn and use Jira Service Management. And so today we're going to look at Jira Service Management through three different perspectives: our customers, our agents, and our administrators. And these are the main perspectives that JSM users will be utilizing, and we'll cover how the tool supports each type of users. So our customers are going to be those individuals who use the Help Center to raise, track, and comment on requests. They can share requests from the Help Center, and they can view knowledge base articles. Our service team are going to be those individuals who are actually viewing, managing, and working on the requests that our customers receive. Our service team can create and manage the knowledge bases. They'll be using queues, can view reports and SLA metrics, and manage our customers. And then lastly, our administrators can perform all of our agent tasks, but can also do advanced administrative tasks like configuring portals, request types, queues, reports, and SLAs. So those are the three perspectives we'll look at JSM through coming up here just shortly. Quickly, one other plug for another webinar that we host here at Valiantys, our Advanced Jira Service Management webinar. Some of the advanced features that we cover in that webinar include incident management, change management, and assets. That is coming up on a week from today, same time, so 11 a.m. Central on October 31st. And this 1-hour webinar builds off of this JSM Fundamentals webinar, and it takes an in-depth look at the advanced ITSM features of Jira Service Management, some of those that I just mentioned. So you can scan this QR code or visit valiantys.com/training to sign up for that webinar, and we hope to see a lot of you there next week at this same time. All right, so that was a lot of talking, and we're going to jump into Jira Service Management now and start our demo. And like I mentioned, we're going to look at the tool through three different perspectives, and we are going to start with our customer perspective. So Jira Service Management has a variety of intake methods for our customers to submit tickets. They can submit tickets via email. They can submit via a chat integration. We can set up a widget and embed it on maybe an internal website. But in this webinar and this morning, we're going to focus on the Help Center. And the Help Center, sometimes we refer to this as the portal of portals. The Help Center is where customers can submit their requests, view the status of those requests, interact with agents, and a whole lot more. And this is the area of Jira Service Management where customers will spend their time. And this is how they'll interact with the tool. So this is the Help Center and a demo site that we've set up here. There are a lot of different things to kind of look at here. The first thing we're going to talk about is the search bar. And the search bar is going to help our users find both request forms and knowledge base articles that we might have connected to our Help Center. So for example, if I just type in VPN to the search bar, we can see that I am served up a couple of troubleshooting articles here under this resources section. And then under request forms, we can see several different request forms that are related to that keyword VPN that I searched. The idea with our knowledge base articles is ticket deflection. So we want to use these articles to guide customers to information that may help them solve their issue themselves, resulting in less tickets being submitted. So let's click into this first one, VPN troubleshooting. And this is just an example of what a knowledge base article can look like. We can add images, we can add some announcement banners like this one, and we can see all the different steps here to this VPN troubleshooting article. And if we scroll down through this, this can potentially help us as a customer to solve our issue. We can even see an expandable content section here. So there's a lot of great formatting options here. You can really get creative and very extensive with your knowledge base articles. And if you've ever used Confluence, which is another Atlassian product, this is very similar to creating a Confluence page, and in fact is powered by Confluence on the back end. So if you have experience with that, you'll be right at home creating your knowledge base articles. Lastly, we can see, did this article help? And the results of this are saved and can be reported on within your Jira Service Management project. So you can find out which of your articles are actually helping customers and which aren't, and maybe make some updates to your articles based on those results. If we click on need to raise a request, contact us. Maybe this article didn't help me and I need to raise an actual ticket. I can click this and it's going to take me to a specific portal, which we'll talk about this here in just a second. And then I could choose the request type that I need and then submit my ticket appropriately. One other thing to note is that in the Help Center, everything does have a unique URL. So you can provide these URLs directly to customers if they need a link to, let's say, this specific portal or a specific portal group, a specific request type, a specific knowledge base article. Everything does have a unique URL, so you can navigate to those very quickly and efficiently if needed. I'll go back to the Help Center main page. We see this banner announcement here. You can add these as an administrator. You can add these to the Help Center homepage. Maybe there's a known outage. Maybe there's going to be a change freeze, something like that. You could add those announcements here so your customers are aware of pertinent information that's going on in the organization. In the topics section here, this is a collection of related elements that can include request forms, knowledge base articles, and even links that are all related in some specific way. So we can see this self-help topic section we've created with some FAQs, a request type itself. And these can be cross-project. Unlike our portal groups, which I'll talk about in just a second, portal groups can only display request types from a single project, but our topics section can actually display request types from multiple projects. So that can be really handy as well. And one thing to note as well is if you are an administrator, you can customize the Help Center by clicking on this Customize panel up here on the right-hand side. So if we scroll down a little bit more, we see some of our portals. Each portal is connected to a project in Jira Service Management. And if you're familiar with Jira, you know how projects work and that there are containers with issues, and that's how work gets done within Atlassian tools. Jira Service Management is no different. Each project is connected to a portal and contains request types that customers can submit their requests through. And you can think of these as like subsections of the Help Center based on maybe a department, a function, a location, etc. These help keep your request types organized based on that similar trait or function. You can have multiple request types within a portal, and access to these is managed on the back end through the project that it's connected to. And each portal can be restricted so that your customers will only see the portals that they have access to when they log into the Help Center. So let's say, for instance, I didn't have access to the HR service desk. I simply wouldn't see this when I log in to the Help Center. And we can see that there's a couple of featured portals here, which is configurable by your administrator. And then we see there's even more portals here as well. So you can have many, many portals here for a variety of needs, and you can configure the featured portals to be the ones that are used most frequently. So let's talk about how to use a form and submit a request. So I will click into the IT Service Desk portal. And we can see there's several portal groups configured here. So we've got computers, logins and accounts, applications, and servers and infrastructures. And these are just collections of request types, again, configured on the back end in the project to help organize your request types a little bit more and make it a little bit simpler for your customers to find the appropriate request type that they need to submit. So I'm going to click on the computers portal group. And now we can see all of the request types that are in this portal group. So request a laptop, get IT help, request new software, and so on and so on. We do see this breadcrumb trail at the top here. So if, for instance, I clicked on the wrong portal group, I could just click back to IT Service Desk and select a different portal group. Or if I need to go all the way back to the Help Center, I could do that from here. Let's go back to that portal group. And also I can navigate to different portal groups here in this Contact Us About dropdown. So I could select logins and accounts or applications, etc., to navigate to a different portal group. So let's choose Request a New Laptop. And we'll look at how this works. So again, I can navigate back to a different portal group here if I need to. What can we help you with? I could navigate to a different request type itself from here. So if I selected the wrong request type, I could choose the appropriate one from this dropdown. And then we see all the different fields for this request type. So the first one is raise this request on behalf of. This is a user picker field that we configured, and I could add a different user here if I want to raise this on behalf of somebody else. I'll just leave this as myself for now. Reason for requesting new laptop. This is a drop-down field, and I'm just going to select my current equipment is damaged. Any additional details. This is a paragraph style field that has a lot of different text formatting options. So we can bold, italicize, underline, strike through, change the color. We can put in a bullet list or a number list. We can add links. We can mention any of our users. We can add emojis. We can add tables. We could add a code snippet if we want to, one of those info panels we talked about earlier, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of great formatting options in these paragraph fields that can be available to your customers within your request types in your Help Center. So I'll just say, I dropped my laptop and the screen broke. And then lastly, we see which model would you like. At face value, this looks like just a regular drop-down field, but this is actually a field linked to our assets database. We won't go into detail on assets in this webinar, but we will do that next week. So please feel free to sign up for that free webinar as well to learn about assets. And so in this case, I'm just going to choose the MacBook Pro 16-inch, and I'll click Send. And now my request has been submitted. And we're going to come back to this screen in just a second to walk through what we're seeing here as a customer once we've submitted our request. But I want to go back to the Help Center really quickly and go to the HR Service Desk. And I'm going to choose this employee onboarding request type. So in your request types, you can actually get really detailed and have some dynamic formatting and have some different contextual formatting as well. Different field types. We see a date type field here. We can see that this has been set up in columns. We've got a table here. And what I really want to demo here is the contextual fields. So in this employee onboarding form, we have a question here, business cards needed. So if I select yes, I'm presented with several more fields to fill out to provide the information that is needed on those business cards. And if I select no, that section is collapsed. And this request type is an example of something that's built using what we call a dynamic form. And that is covered in much more detail in our Jira Service Management Bootcamp in terms of how to configure those and how to set them up. We will go into those very briefly at the towards the end of this webinar, but to really get that knowledge, you're going to want to think about signing up for that JSM Bootcamp to really get into dynamic forms. But there's a lot of great options, customization options available with your request types and your forms. So let's go to my initials up here, and we're going to go to the request section of the Help Center. And I'll just say, okay, there, that's fine. So in this section is where your customers can take a kind of a quick look at all of their requests that they have submitted via the portal. And they have a search option here if maybe they've submitted several requests and need to find something quickly. You can filter these based on the status. So we can simply say open request, close request, or we can pick some specific statuses from specific projects. We have a drop down here, all those that were created by me or those where I am a participant, and we can filter by request type as well. And there's several handy columns here for your customers to view. Again, just a quick look at the requests that they have submitted. And really the most important one here is this status. So I can quickly see out of all the requests that I've submitted, what status are those in? Is there something that, do I need to follow up with the team? Has it been several days since I've gotten an update? So I can look at these really quickly, and then I can click on the number here, the issue key, and go back to that page that we saw just a second ago. And this is where I can view all of the information that I have the ability to view on this request. So in this details section, this is all the information that I provided when I submitted this ticket. So we can see reason for requesting a new laptop, any additional details, which model would you like? We can see that I raised this request today at 11:20 a.m. In the activity section, we will see any updates that have been made to the ticket. All we see so far is that there is an approval needed on this ticket. That is actually powered by assets as well, which we will go into how that's configured and working in next week's webinar. It's utilizing assets and automation to set an approver on this ticket. And we can see over here that that individual is Vicky Murphy, and this ticket is waiting on her approval to move along in its workflow. Again, we can see the status. I can turn notifications on or off for this ticket. So maybe I don't need to be notified about this for some reason. I can simply turn those off or turn them back on. And I can also cancel this request. So if I cancel this request, the status would change to canceled, and the team would know they no longer need to work on this ticket. Maybe I was incorrect and my laptop isn't broken. So I could just cancel this request, and then nobody needs to work on this request. Lastly, I can share this ticket. So maybe I want to share it with maybe a different member of my team. I could just type that person's name in here and click add. And now Wade has been added to this request, and it's shared with him, and he will get updates on it as well. So maybe he needs to know when I'm going to get my new laptop so I can get back to work. I can add him here, and he'll find out when that's going to be. And lastly, we can also add comments to our service desk team through this ticket. So if I click in the comment section, we see that same paragraph style field, and I could say, could you please provide an update on this request? And simply click save. And now my comment has been added to this request, and we can see that I made that comment today at this time. So there's a lot of functionality that our customers can do through the Help Center. The main ones, again, are submit their requests, view information about those requests, get updates from the service desk team, and also interact with the service desk team via the comments section. And with that, we're going to view this same request from an agent's point of view. And I can do that because I have permissions in this instance. I can simply click this issue key here, and it'll take me to the back end of Jira Service Management. And so here's that request that I submitted. I'll collapse this so we can see this a little bit better. And there's going to be a lot more information here housed for our agents, and we'll just simply take a walk through everything that we're seeing here. So the issue key is shown here at the top, and the issue type. So when I submitted that request type, it's connected to an issue type. That issue type is service request with approvals, and we see the icon here that is indicating that. Directly under the issue key, we see the summary field. The summary is just simply new laptop request, and that was generated from the portal, or excuse me, the Help Center when I submitted this request. And we can see here how some of those form fields have translated to the issue view. And we can collapse this details section. This section reason wasn't called reason out on the portal. It was called something different, which might make more sense to a customer and help prompt them to provide the appropriate information. But here we're just simply calling that reason. Description is the same situation, and we can see that information. I dropped my laptop and the screen broke. And we can see the laptop model that I submitted in that field as well. We see that I raised this request via the portal here, and we can click this link to actually look at this request via the portal. One thing to note is that your agents and your administrators, anybody who has access to the back end, we can create requests by simply just clicking this blue create button. So we don't have to go to the Help Center to submit our requests. We can actually do it directly from Jira Service Management when we're working on something and something comes up and we need to submit a request and create an issue. We can just simply click the blue create button, and we're presented with a screen with fields to fill out and make certain selections. So something to note about agents and administrators there. And like I mentioned, the description that we're seeing here, that is linked to that field on the request type that was called any additional details. So things can show, or rather display, a different name in the Help Center and on our request types than they do on the back end. We see some other buttons here at the top. Create subtask. I could create a subtask directly linked to this issue if I need to. I could link some related issues. I could add a form if I need to. And then we've got some other apps installed here, some third-party apps such as Tempo. So I could add that to do some time planning or time tracking if I need to. Over on the right-hand side, we see our status drop-down. So when this ticket was created, it automatically went into the waiting for approval status. If I click this, I have two statuses that I could transition this to as an agent. I could transition it to waiting for support, or I could cancel the request, similarly to how our customers can cancel the request. And if I click View Workflow, again, if you're familiar with Jira, you know workflows, you know statuses, you know transitions, and it works no differently in Jira Service Management. So here is the example workflow for this particular issue type, and we can see when I created that issue, it automatically went to the waiting for approval status, and then there's a number of different statuses that this ticket might go throughout its life cycle. And one other thing to point out very quickly on the workflow is our status categories are also exactly the same as Jira. So our gray statuses are the to-do status category, blue being in progress, and green being done. So again, absolutely identical to Jira software. We also have an actions drop down here. So if we have some manually triggered automations configured, this is where those would live, and we actually see some of those here. So I could click any of these and automation would run some actions and do some things based on which one of those that I have selected. Directly under that, we see our approvals section. So we saw out on the Help Center that this ticket was waiting for an approval. And we see that here as well. We see waiting for one approval, one person from approvers must approve, and Vicki Murphy has been added to the approvers field here. And again, that's powered by assets and automation, which we will demo in the webinar next week. And so that happens behind the scenes. If I want to add an approver as an agent, maybe Vicki is out, I could remove her and add somebody else, or I could just simply add approver. And since we have this configured as only one person from approvers must approve, if I added another person and that person approves this request, it will move along in its workflow. Directly under approvals, we see SLAs, and SLAs are our service level agreements. And I like to describe those as they're representing how quickly we're agreeing to do something related to the ticket. So we have two SLAs configured here. We have time to first response and time to resolution. And so what we're saying here is we're agreeing that within 4 hours, our goal is to respond to the customer, so time to first response. And for this particular request type, our goal is to have this resolved within 8 hours. So we can see here, since I submitted that at 11:20 a.m., 4 hours later, 3:20 p.m. is our goal for first response. We also have this SLA configured to only be active during working hours. So by 11:20 a.m. tomorrow, which would be 8 working hours, we are hoping to have this resolved. We'll look a little bit more at SLAs here later this morning. In our details section, we see a knowledge base field, and this has added 2 related articles. These articles may help me as an agent resolve this issue. Again, highlighting the importance of the knowledge base. Like I mentioned, it's powered by Confluence on the back end, and you may notice a lot of familiarity between the knowledge base and Confluence if you're familiar with that tool. But the idea here is to serve up articles that might be relevant to me as an agent to help this user solve their issue. We see an assignee field. I could quickly assign this to me if I want to. On the reporter field, I'm the reporter. I'm the person who submitted this request, and that's why I'm shown in this field. And as an agent, I can actually change the request type here as well. So maybe the customer has submitted their request using the wrong request type. I could change it to a different request type here if needed. And there's some other fields here: organizations, request language, components. A good one to call out is the priority field. Changing the priority on a ticket can help draw attention to critical issues or critical tickets. Priorities are configured globally by your Jira administrator. There are priority schemes available now as well that can provide different priority values for different projects. So they used to be global. Now there's a little bit more control over those. So I could select any of these priority values. Maybe this is a high priority ticket for some reason. I could change that here. And then now this ticket is marked as high priority. Maybe there's a separate queue for high priority tickets, which draws more attention to these and gets them resolved quicker. Then lastly, we see request participants. Wade is added here because I added him on, or rather I shared the ticket with him from the Help Center. So he's added as a request participant. And then approvers, again, is Vicky Murphy. We also see another assets field here. We'll talk about that in detail next week. We see another section here, more fields. This is configured by your project administrator. These fields don't have to appear on the ticket at all if they are not needed, or they can be moved up to the details section, which we were looking at previously. So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of which fields are presented on your tickets and where they're displayed. And then if we collapse that, we'll scroll down to the automation section. This section is going to list the details regarding any automation rules that have been triggered by the ticket. We see 2 with a green check mark here that have that were run when I created this ticket, and so this can help your agents or your admins with troubleshooting and figure out which automations ran and maybe did something to the ticket. We won't go into automation configuration in detail in this webinar, but we do cover that extensively in our Jira Bootcamp. And you can get, again, all of that information at valiantys.com/training. We'll go over to our middle section again, and we see similar requests. And this section is going to provide a list of other issues that are similar to this one in terms of their summary field or their description field. And these can be useful for our agents to review past tickets and provide insight on a solution to the problem that they're trying to solve with this ticket. And they also highlight the frequency in which similar requests are being submitted in order to create a greater sense of urgency or show the need to maybe look into a larger issue that might be happening. If we're getting a lot of tickets related to the same problem, maybe there's a bigger issue at play. So let's click into this. We can see several requests that are all new laptop requests. So those are certainly similar to this ticket. We can link these to our current ticket by simply clicking this link icon. And you can provide feedback to Atlassian here in terms of whether or not these results are relevant by clicking yes or no. So that's a very handy section for our agents. If we scroll down a little bit more, we see our activity section. This is similar to what we saw in the Help Center in terms of what was displayed in our customer view, but there's a lot more options here and a lot more information. If we click all, this is going to display a comprehensive look at everything that has happened since the ticket was created. So we see I changed the priority 3 minutes ago from low to high. We see I added a request a comment 13 minutes ago. I updated the request participants when I shared this ticket with Wade. Automation updated the approvers, and so on and so forth. So this is really the most comprehensive look at everything that has happened since the ticket was created. If we click on comments, as an agent, we see a couple different options here. We can add an internal note or reply to customer. So if I add internal note, this would be a comment type that is not visible to the customer out on the portal. So if I do this and I click save, we can see it's highlighted in a different color, and it's also marked as internal note. So it's very important as an agent to pick the appropriate comment type when you're commenting on a ticket. If for some reason there is confidential information being shared or something, an internal discussion between agents, maybe it's noisy and the customer doesn't need to view those comments or get notifications about those comments, you can use internal notes that way. And I could reply to the customer by simply clicking reply to customer. Those comments we'll see are not highlighted in any color and are not indicated as internal notes. So it's really important to use those appropriately and effectively when you are when you're adding comments. Another thing you can do with your comments is you can add what's called a canned response. And so you can utilize these for responses that are either high frequency or maybe need to include specific language. So if I click canned responses, we've got a second canned response configured here. That's the name of it, and the response is, this response can be used by anyone, so I could insert this response. We see it's here, and the idea is to save me time and energy and effort by essentially copying and pasting a pre-configured response, and then I can send this to the customer that way. There are two types of canned responses. So personal canned responses are user or agent specific. If I create one of those, I'm the only person who can use that canned response. Or shared, which can be used by anybody in the project. So be sure to choose the right canned response type when you're configuring those. History is going to show us a more truncated look at everything that's happened on the ticket. Work logs would display any time tracking information. If you are tracking your time working on your assigned work, this is where you would see that information. And then lastly, approvals is where you'll see only information related to approvals. So again, this ticket is in an approval step currently, and one person from the approvers field must approve. So that's not everything that your agents will be able to do or see or interact with on a ticket, but that's sort of a 10,000-foot view overview of how tickets are going to be displayed for agents, how they're going to be working on the tickets, and some advanced functionality there as well. And so with that, we are going to move on to our third view as an administrator. And we mentioned queues early on. Let's take a look at our queues. And what are queues? So queues are how tickets are sorted and displayed for agents in a service project. And they're a great way for agents to quickly see a list of all open requests or requests that meet a certain criteria. In the past, Jira Service Management did not have boards like Jira Software, but instead utilized queues. That is changing currently. Boards are being rolled into Jira Service Management. You might already notice those in your instance if you have Jira Service Management. Our queues work the same way as a filter in Jira Software. So if you're familiar with filters, they work almost identically. And you do need to be a project administrator to create and manage queues. So here I am in the queues section. We see several different configured queues. First, we see these starred queues, and you can star any of your queues and add them to your starred section. This is on a user-by-user basis, so help you navigate to the queues that you use or utilize frequently very quickly. So I'll click into all my tickets. And this queue is going to be unique for all of your different agents. It's configured to look at the current user. So that current user is me. These are my open tickets. Likewise, if I click into all open tickets, this is every open ticket within this Jira Service Management project. So we've got this configured to show everything that isn't in a done status. And we can see all of those here. We see a lot of different columns here as well. Request type, the issue key, the summary, who created it or the reporter, the assignee, the status, when was it created, and we've got two of our SLAs here, time to resolution and time to first response. These columns are configurable, so they don't have to be these fields necessarily. You can add or remove those as needed. You can actually change some of the values directly from your queue as well. So I could change the status of this ticket, for instance, if I need to, directly from the queue rather than having to click directly into the ticket. And we can also execute some bulk actions by clicking this box, and then we can see several different options here for what we can do in bulk on these tickets. So we could bulk comment, we could assign them all to somebody, bulk transition, bulk approve, or bulk delete. So that's a way to make some quick updates to several tickets all at once. So the way we can customize our queues as a project admin is I can click the three dots and I could either clone this queue, I could delete it, but we'll look at the edit section. And so here's where we can edit the queue name. We can add it to a specific priority group, which is how we can organize our queues in another way. And then we see filter by. And so this is how I like to think about this area is which issues do I want to see and what information about those issues do I want to see? So the filter by is going to determine which issues are going to be displayed in this queue. And then the columns are going to represent what information do I want to see about those. So we can simply click the X to remove any of these columns. We can type in our additional columns here as well if we want to add something, and that's how we would update those. If I made any updates, I would click save and then save those updates to this queue. So we won't make any updates to that right now. Let's go back to our queues section, and if we scroll to the bottom and click queue settings, this is where we can add our queues to different priority groups as well. Priority groups are global, so this will affect how these are viewed for all the agents in your project. And like I mentioned, if you just want to move something to a section that isn't going to affect anything for other users, you can simply click that star to move it to your starred section. So let's create a queue very quickly. We'll go back to our queue settings and we'll click create queue. And I'll just call this test queue. And we won't add it to a priority group now. And we'll say, for this one, we'll just say resolution is not empty. And we'll do a quick search. And that will display every ticket where the resolution field is not empty in this project. So maybe we want to call this something different, actually. We'll say all closed tickets. So we can name the queue, use our JQL to create that. If you don't know how to write JQL or don't want to write JQL, you can use basic, and Jira will give you some drop downs that you can use to create your query. And then if I wanted to save this, I would simply click create, and that would create our queue. So that's just a little bit about queues. The creation and organization of them is very intuitive and can be really utilized to help people focus in on the work that they need to be focused on within your busy service desk project. Let's go back to project. Let's talk about SLAs a little bit more. And like I mentioned earlier, SLAs are our service level agreement, and it's the level of service that the team has committed to providing to our customers, either internal or external. They can be thought of as goals that have a specific time frame in which they should be achieved. And you do need to be a project administrator to create and manage SLAs. So we need to find our SLA section. They've made some quick updates to the organization of Jira Service Management recently. So I just need to find the SLA section, and it's now housed within the request management section. So this is a fairly new update. They've created these collapsible kind of categories in the project settings for our project administrators, keeping things a little bit more organized and a little bit more clean looking. And this is a great example of updates that get made in the cloud every so often by Atlassian to improve their products. They are always looking for ways to create more efficiencies and make the products better. So let's click request management and we'll go to SLAs. So we can see here, this is where we're going to configure our SLAs. We have 4 different SLAs configured here. Some of them have multiple goals. You do have a limit of 90 goals per project to configure via SLAs. If I expand one of these, let's do time to resolution, for instance, we can see the couple goals that we have configured here. And there's some parameters that you need to configure. So which issues will this SLA apply to, against which calendar, and what's the time target? So we saw time to resolution. The ticket that I submitted earlier was a service request, and it had a time target of 8 hours for time to resolution. We can configure some conditions here. So when do we want to start counting against our SLA? So for instance, here we have issue created or the resolution field is cleared. When do we want to pause counting? So here we've got that configured for 2 specific statuses. And when do we want to finish counting time? So when the resolution is set, that's when we'll stop counting time against this SLA. We talked about the calendars. You can create several calendars within your SLAs section. And like I mentioned earlier, that SLA was only counting during business hours, and this is what is powering that, this calendar. So we can see here, this SLA only runs Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So if we don't want to be counting against our SLA when nobody on our service team is actively working, this is how we would configure that. So a lot of cool stuff you can do with SLAs. We are coming up on the top of the hour, so I want to briefly touch on a couple other topics. So we can go to our request type section here. We can see that we've got several different types of request types configured. And remember that our customer portal is composed of request types. And this is where we're going to create those request types, assign them to specific portal groups, and we can even restrict these to specific users or groups, etc. One thing that we see here, so here's all of those request types that we were looking at earlier. So like new mobile device, request a new laptop. We can see that each of these request types is associated with a specific issue type in Jira. And you may remember on the ticket itself, we saw this purple icon when I submitted the request a new laptop request type. Issue types can be associated with more than one request type, but each request type can only be associated with one issue type. So anytime somebody submits fix an account problem, it's always going to create the service request issue type. So that's definitely something to keep in mind as you're configuring these. Let's go to the request a new laptop request type and take a look a little bit about how this is configured. So we see here, here's the name of the request type. We can see several fields that have been added to this request type. If you recall earlier, this field reason was not called reason out on the help center. It was called reason for requesting new laptop. And this is where we can configure that display name for our customers. So we can have our fields display a different name than what is out in, what is in the back end. So again, you can get more specific or more familiar language with your customers via the display name, and you can even add a display description guiding them into what kind of information you're expecting them to enter into that field. And we can add Jira system fields or custom fields on our request types. We can also see that this field, for instance, is required, and we can simply just check this box here to make a field required, and that way the request form will not be able to be submitted if our customer does not provide a value into that field. And so if we want to add another field to this, we would simply type the name of the field here, drag it over here, position it where we would like, drop it there, and then I would click Save Changes if I want to add that field to that request form. And I will not do that right now. We also have the issue view that we can configure here as well. So we talked a little bit about this earlier, and in terms of where our fields are displaying on the tickets that our agents are viewing, And we can drag and drop fields from these various sections here. So the description field section, the context fields, or even the hidden when empty fields, which is the more field section that we looked at earlier. So you can simply drag and drop these here and position your fields where you need them to be. Lastly, similarly to the fields on the request form, we can actually change the names of workflow statuses for our customers as well. So maybe, for instance, we have several different statuses that don't necessarily mean anything to our customer. They just need to know that the ticket is in progress. We could change the display name of some of these. So maybe waiting for support, we'll just say in progress, and maybe waiting for customer, we would do that as well, and then save those. And then when the ticket is in these specific statuses, the display name will be different for the customer. So you can create some, maybe some less noise or more meaningful status names for your customers that way, and differentiate the names of the statuses between the customer who submitted the ticket and those folks who are actually working on the tickets. So that's a little bit about how request types are configured. With our last couple minutes here, I want to talk briefly about forms, which we talked about when we were looking at the Help Center. You can create forms and add them to your request type. So in addition to those Jira system and custom fields that we just looked at, we can add what we like to call here dynamic forms to help capture further information from customers, which will then be displayed on the ticket. There are a lot of customizable options for dynamic forms. We would simply go create form. Atlassian has provided several templates, which are very helpful for creating your forms, or you can just create a blank form. I'll just show creating a blank form very quickly. You could give your form a name, and then in the body of the form, you can add all kinds of help text here. Again, that same paragraph style editing here. And then we would simply click add field, and we've got several different field options to choose from. Let's just choose short text, for instance. And you can even link these to Jira system or custom fields. So I would click in this linked Jira field dropdown, choose a field to link it to, and when the customer submits this request type using this form, the information that they've entered in this field would then display in that linked Jira field on the back end. So lots of great functionality here, like we saw in the HR team portal. Conditional formatting can be utilized here as well, and a lot of great options with the forms to, again, enhance the information gathering process for your agents and display things a little bit differently for your customers, and make sure you're getting the right information from them that you need when they are submitting their requests. All right, I know that was a lot. I'm going to check the Q&A section really quickly and see if there's anything we can address. No open questions, so let's go ahead and wrap things up for the morning. So that was our demo. Again, we looked at 3 different perspectives: customers, agents, admins, and hopefully that gives you a basic understanding of Jira Service Management and how it can be utilized by various users and stakeholders and individuals in your organization, and how they might use the tool to submit their requests, work on requests, or do any configurations that might be needed in the tool. So there are many ways to connect with us. If you have any other additional questions on Jira Service Management, anything specific in the tool, anything Atlassian related, feel free to scan this QR code for my contact information. Feel free to contact me via LinkedIn, via email. I believe both of those are in the chat here as well. We also have a YouTube channel. If you just search for Valiantys YouTube, it'll come right up. We do have a JSM updates playlist, and also that link is in the chat right now as well. And we try to update this as frequently as possible with significant updates that Atlassian has made to Jira Service Management. And in addition to that playlist, there's content on all kinds of Atlassian related tools and products, best practices for your organization, really a wide variety of content on there. So I do encourage you to check us out on YouTube. And yeah, thanks for joining us this morning. Again, I hope you enjoyed this course. I hope you learned something new about Jira Service Management and how it can be a useful tool for your team or organization. A reminder that we do have that advanced ITSM in JSM webinar next week, same time. Head to valiantys.com/training to sign up for that. And we really hope to see you there. And thanks again for joining today, and have a great day.